I'll do most of the talking, don't worry, Tim.
Hello and welcome everyone. Hi. So, it's the last stream of Spiel because Spiel is ending tonight. But as you say, save the best for last. We are talking about the artwork behind DEIOS, and I have the artist here with me that I will interview about all the things that are relevant to the art creation process, the new things that are coming up, all the beautiful shiny things that Caeora is doing, and why is he doing that, how is he doing that, and how soon can we use them. So please welcome, before I forget, if you have any questions, put a big question in front of it and I will find it. And with that said, let's say hi to Caeora.
Oh,
Hi,
hello.
Caeora.
How you
Hi.
doing, Till? I know this is your last stream of Spiel, so I think you're very tired. Um,
No, I'm
how's it
fine.
gone? How's Spiel been?
Well, it has been quite a ride. I feel like the streaming was really cool. I had a lot of fun. We've created a huge amount of maps, and there was a lot of feedback. So it was kind of a group effort creating those maps. Today we had Tony here who drew a thank you asset, a portal that was quite fun to watch. Um, we finally revealed our anniversary trailer. So yeah, but it is exhausting. I know that I will sleep for a day.
Yeah. Well, shall we talk about Dale's things?
Yes, please. That's why we're here. So, um, how do you want to go about it? Do you just want to hop into screen sharing and show what you want to? Oh, you're doing it already. Oh my God, I need to switch.
Sorry. Yeah.
Those
So,
artists. Tony
um,
has been doing the same thing to me.
we're, yeah, we're just too quick off the ball. Yeah. So, Deus assets creation thing. Um, this is kind of my area of expertise, I suppose. But it's been a weird kind of journey because back when the Kickstarter was going on, and even before that, I had prepped a bunch of stuff for the Kickstarter, um, and as time went on, all of that changed. I ended up iterating and trying to improve upon and do different bits and pieces. Just tightening up a few things, increasing the level of detail, making things a little bit easier to work with. Right up until very close to release, I was still trying to fiddle with some of the assets and improve some of them. Just as a little example, I ended up highlighting all of these. I think it was 2 weeks before, or a week and a half before the launch of the technical alpha. So I
Yeah.
was still sort of looking at these and going, "Oh yeah, I think I should maybe add a few little highlights here." And these little white lines that you can see here, I was adding that kind of stuff, and white background here to be more accurate to how medieval style buildings look. So yeah, it's been a very slow sort of process for a lot of this stuff. Um,
Also, I
and
remember
who knows,
that you
as
revisited the mountains, right?
yeah, oh yeah. So basically, like the mountains had a much harder edge, which doesn't look so great on. So if you give it a like a black, this is very extreme. But if we have something soft where you sort of the blend is a little bit more rough and textured, it blends a lot nicer. Before we had a much harder edge, and it didn't look very nice against some darker sort of background. So that was changed again, pretty very recently, in order to work for the technical alpha. Um, but yeah, it's just been a very interesting journey with these.
So
And of course, this is just the fantasy assets. This is just the
yeah,
base pack.
this is the base pack, right? Um,
Mm.
I've seen like people are now posting a lot of the artwork and the maps that they are doing
Mm.
through Technical Alpha. Um, and I feel like most assets work really, really well. I feel like there are already some favorites that I see quite often, like for example, mountains and forests. Um, are there any, like, one of my personal favorites, for example, is the mountain fortress. That is absolutely incredible. Like if you put that, if you place a mountain range down and you put that, it instantly creates this extremely beautiful mountain fortress that kind of gets hidden behind another mountain. And so this one is personally, I would say, my favorite. Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, I do actually. I really love just the bog basic house. This house here.
Yeah.
I've been drawing a lot of maps over the years, and I'm always trying to. Oh, you draw settlements onto maps. You draw little cities and all the rest of it. And I'm always trying to improve upon how I draw cities and things. And this is the best little house I've ever drawn. it's got it's got a lovely little door. It's got a downstairs window. It's got a beautiful chimney. It just looks really cute, like a little medieval house. And I think to me that's kind of what it. I would just have that prominently on a map because you know that's what you have. You have little cities and little stuff. Um, I do want to just so one of the things will quickly say about these as well is that I've been seeing a lot of people use these assets, and they're using them in ways that I didn't really think they would. So one of the things that I've seen a lot is people creating cities with these assets.
Yeah.
So they've been using a lot, not just like a wall and a house to represent a city. They've been putting down loads of buildings to represent a larger sort of space, which I didn't really expect. Like I didn't really like that wasn't something I really considered or really thought that would happen a lot. But yeah, that seems to be very popular. People seem to like putting them all together.
Yeah, I know. I've started to do this myself because of the way that you can zoom in, like you can get really close to a map. So you have all the details of those buildings. Now, when you bring them together, um, because of the way that the software is automatically aligning them in front and in back, you can very quickly create a very nice townscape that just looks cool. It wasn't intended to be like that at all because the way that the scaling works right now in Technical Alpha is one house should represent one city, right? That was how we approached that in the first place. Um, now I feel like,
Sort of, yeah.
yeah, now I feel like the lesson learned is we shouldn't stick to the idea of saying no, 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 one house is one city, but we should just probably rework our scale system to allow people to create little towns and cities from this, let's say, map perspective. Um, so that's why we're doing the alpha. That's the learning curve we have here. What's your take on that?
Yeah, and also it's going to be very interesting when it comes to doing some later settings because probably the one that I'm going to pay a lot of attention to when it comes to designing the buildings for a lot of this kind of stuff is the cyberpunk setting because there's going to be tons and tons of buildings and people are going to create maps on a world scale with tons and tons of buildings. So I need to kind of bear that in mind for how they're going to work together. You're kind of layering them like some behind, some in front. How am I going to do sort of roads going between them from a world perspective? This isn't going to be city map stuff. This is just going to be, like actual sort of on the world map. How big is the space of that city taking up? And I would imagine that cyberpunk stuff is going to take up huge amounts of space.
True.
So I'm going to have to think about that quite a
Yeah.
lot.
Also,
Yeah.
probably just to emphasize that, to make sure that there's no misunderstanding, this is not the city map editor. This is the world map editor and the region map editor, where as the city map editor will go into a top-down view where you can place all your cities assigned to districts. It's just that those assets are so beautiful that people are using more houses to put them together to create a little cityscape. And that was a surprise to us.
Yeah, and I was. Oh, you can do this in DEIOS. I'll show you how I put these, how I like to put these together. I'll show you how I like to do these, like how I like to make little villages and little towns.
Yeah, we're going to switch to DEIOS
we'll
a little bit later, and then we can do that. Yeah.
So yeah, I guess now that we've talked about these assets a little bit, should we talk about the new stuff?
Yes, absolutely. Some of your community, your followers, might already have seen bits and pieces, but for most of you, this might be new because this is, what is it? I give you the honor to present it.
These are the Titanic Creatures. These are going to be the first little pack that's coming. It was one of the Kickstarter packs, 25 assets to represent, these big world-shaking creatures and things that you might find on a map. It's very reminiscent of medieval styles of map making. When you've got the here be dragons and the kraken in the ocean and this kind of stuff. And I had so much fun making this pack. I just thought that, just go really crazy with it. And I think this is really, 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 really good. I love pretty much every single one of these. I hate one of them, but I just did it anyway, so it's fine. But yeah, I think these look really, really cool.
Yeah,
and they even managed to fit Pinky in here.
Yes. No, they are absolutely stunning. The first time you showed them to me, I was almost falling off my chair because they are just, the level of detail you put into them is just mind-blowing. This is incredibly beautiful. And I have a favorite in there. You have one that you hate. Interesting.
What's your favorite, Till?
The stone golem.
Oh, when I was doing the line art for him, I was doing little expressions on his face as well.
I think I saw one where he did this the O mouth.
Just making him a little happy. He's so happy. He's just excited to be here.
And there's another one where I feel like they have really interesting, nice. Oh, there you go. Now he's angry.
Yes. Sorry, carry on.
Another one I like a lot is the fire. Is it the fire giant, the fire creature, this fire demon?
The fire lord.
The fire lord.
Yes. Well, so a lot of these are drawn from things that I like or have enjoyed in the past. So some of these are drawn from anime.
He looks like he looks like he got photobombed. Whenever I look at him, he's like he was just walking somewhere and heard his name and he turned and that's when you took the picture.
He's just what?
Yeah, he's like what? Like,
yeah. No, I don't think any one of these has been particularly horrible to me, except the behemoth. The behemoth is my least favorite one that I did. And the only reason that he's my least favorite one is because he's, in comparison to the rest of them, I feel that he's just a little bit derpy. Like he's just a little bit, what am I doing? He doesn't really seem to have the same kind of facial expression. He just seems a bit strange. But apart from that, I think they're all very, very, very good. I really enjoyed it.
He's basically just being ready. If you throw the stick, he will fetch it. That's his expression. He's like, if there
Yeah,
would
he's
be
like a lost puppy.
yeah, if there would be a tongue lolling out where he would be like, oh, throw the ball, I will catch it.
Yeah, exactly. My favorite out of all of these is probably Ymir, the ice giant here.
Yeah,
This is I see. I added some things from World of Warcraft, some things from anime, some things from sort of mythology and
yeah,
things like that. So I love Norse mythology. It's one of my favorite kinds of like myths, and I love the legends and things like that. So you can see that there's quite a few things from Norse mythology in here. You have Fenrir, the giant wolf, the world serpent that kills Thor and Ragnarok, and Ymir is the Norse ice giant at the beginning of creation. So these are all kind of like my thoughts and my ideas about what you might find on fantasy maps, or even other kinds of maps. Chunky lizard you could use in a cyberpunk setting, or the mech warrior you could use in something more sci-fi inspired. So this isn't just fantasy. And a lot of these packs now going forwards, at least the ones that have all of these other, they'll have examples that you can use in, or assets that you can use in different sort of genres, which I think is really cool.
yeah, absolutely. Um, do you want to see them in action?
Yes. Why don't we show them off how they're looking in DEIOS? I'm going to stop sharing now.
Yes, thank you. I will switch now.
See me endlessly.
I'm sorry, I didn't manage to find a way, so the chat was already asking, I can't see Caeora. That's on me. My apologies. I wasn't capable of capturing you while you're screen sharing, and now I realize I have forgot to capture you here. Let me just quickly fix that.
No, it's fine. As long as people can hear me. Show off the DEIOS thing.
No, I want you to be there when I want to see your face. Dum 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 dum. That is
I'll talk a little bit about what you're seeing in the background. So
yes.
Till has uploaded all of these into the most recent dev build for DEIOS. So the most recent build has all of the Titanic creatures in it. It's I'm going to say not quite ready to go, but at least you can play around with some new assets when the new build goes live. Oh no!
Hello. So there you are. Okay. So what we're looking at is the DEIOS Alpha build. You already know how use, see, destroy quite often. And I have worked the new assets in there. So they are all filtered by creature and Titanic. You can see them here. And I made a mistake. I double uploaded two of them. I will fix that later. But they work so great. Like let's put Ymir somewhere. Let's put him. He's standing over there.
Apparently, people can't hear me.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I forgot to add the thing.
Audio. Guys, be nice to Till. He's been doing Spiel now for how many days? 5 days. I think
4 days.
Till is about ready to fall into bed and not get up for a week.
Yes, you should be hearing him now. I forgot to add the audio. Yes. Okay. So they look. I mean, one of the favorites again is I really like the giant here that is kind of lurking in the mountains. We have the turtle, the giant turtle here. Another one that really looks good is the spider. That is just creeping around here.
Just having a massive giant spider in the forest.
Yeah, I feel like
that's going to encourage your players to go into that forest, right?
Yeah. Let me just bring it back to behind that mountain. So that really looks good. I feel like if you have those Titanic creatures on the map, instantly creates a more living area because
Mm.
you now have living creatures crawling across your map.
Yeah, it makes it more fantasy as well.
Yeah.
I know some people aren't going to use DEIOS for fantasy maps. They might want to make other things, but they might want to make slightly more realistic or whatever. But honestly, I mean, if you want to make your map pop and your players to go, oh my god, are we going over there with the giant sandworm? It's like, yes, there are giant sandworms in my world. It's like, yay!
And again,
Because it's represented.
if you think about the way that in medieval times, this here be dragons or just the like
Mm,
how do you say um the the
terra
myths.
incognita.
Yeah, the terra incognito, or just the urban legends of, oh no, don't go into that hillside because there lives this giant whatever. That's what a map maker would
Mm,
take and put there because it is what
mm.
people believe it is there. So that is, I think that is a really cool asset pack that you've brought in there. So how do you do
Yeah.
cities?
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. So, make a new city. So go somewhere flat.
Yes.
Um,
Let's create something flat. Is that enough? Enough for a city?
oh yeah, way too big. It's fine.
Way too big. Okay. Okay. So let's go to the city assets.
Bring up, let's say, a wall, one of the wooden walls or the thingy wall.
That one, or you mean like the oh, that's fortification, I believe. The palisade.
Oh yeah, yep.
Okay?
And just throw that down. Yep. Now grab a house or whatever house.
That one?
Yeah, that's perfect. I love that house. Now, how I was thinking about and how I normally draw settlements is that house. If you place that house behind the wall, but make sure that the bottom of the house is pretty much like, I don't know, yeah, pretty much just above, so you can't see it, like the bottom. Yeah, perfect. There, like that. Now grab a tower, like some kind of
No, not the clock tower, I
um,
assume. You mean something like a fortific
no,
like
you
that.
can get the clock tower or that tower, whichever one. Now put that one behind that.
Here?
Well, off to the side a little bit, not as symmetrical. Yeah, yeah, there's fine. Or there, wherever. Like that. Yep. And then you can put a flag on top of that, or you can put a smaller house in front of the big house off to the side again,
Here? Here?
still behind the wall.
Yeah, yeah, it's still behind the wall.
And yeah, right there.
Okay. I feel like
So to me, that's a little village. And if I wanted to make a city, I'd use the stone wall and I would do it the same thing, layering the higher stuff behind it, putting the embellishments over the top, and then layering it forwards.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I would do it.
Okay.
But obviously, I've not seen many people do that. I've seen most people are doing what you do with the down in the left there, which I need to account for in the next assets that I make, to make them just look a little bit. I might need to make bigger walls or ways for walls to be a little bit more modular, so that you can connect a wall to another wall, so you can have a longer wall in front, or possibly having diagonal wall and like so you could actually create a wall around it.
Around it, yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. We will see.
Yeah, but I need to play around with it and see if it will look good and work. But
True.
yeah, that's something that I need to bear in mind for future asset stuff.
Yeah, interesting. Um, so, a lot of people are saying, man, those monsters are really tall. Well, the thing is, again, in terms of our first steps towards learning and understanding how the system should work, is we set a scale and we defined the scale size, and then we said, okay, even if the scale is realistic, the assets that you place are representations of areas. So they don't have to be real size assets, because again, a cactus would be invisible, a tree would be invisible. But the lesson learned is, and I think we've talked about that on, did we talk about that on a cow meeting? I feel like we just touched that point. Is the lesson learned is, oh, on the release video, on the alpha release launch video, we've talked about the fact that we just learned something new here. We're going to make the scale adjustable for you, so you set the scale. It's up to you if that is, if that lizard or if that snake, if that sea serpent is 25 kilometers or if it's just 5 kilometers, because that's up to you. That's you decide on the scale.
I think it's worth mentioning as well that the scale that we set was based upon the mountains first. So placing down a mountain in the current version of DEIOS from a scale perspective is correct. And then everything after that, maybe not maybe hills and things, also pretty correct. But generally speaking, everything after that is pretty much representational of something else. So like some grass and rocks and things. There's not like a half a kilometer size rock. It's not that kind of stuff. Everything is then is supposed to look good next to a mountain. So mountains are scaled roughly correctly. Yeah. And then everything after that is
because if I remember correctly, and I might be remembering it wrong, but if I remember correctly, you also started with one asset to decide on the scale, like on the relation between all the other assets. Yep. And you worked from that. Do you remember which one? Do you remember which one?
Yes, it was the mountain.
Number 11, I believe, or 16.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
So, historically speaking,
if you can find it, I'll tell you.
So historically speaking, I think this is number 16. But that wasn't it. It was probably mountain number 11.
Put it on the map? Yes.
This was our reference point. So if you picture how the art process behind that is that you decided on one asset that sets the scale for everything else. So whenever you place down mountain 11, it is like it's the grandfather of all assets, because that one decided how big everything else gets.
Yeah, basically, and it's as if you look at maps, if you look at any maps that I've drawn, the mountains are roughly 3 times, maybe 4 times larger than a city, or that kind of thing, and a tree looks very small when you put it up against a mountain. Yeah. It isn't supposed to be that, the forests are completely invisible or whatever. They're supposed to be representational, but I think it works. And I think that's how I've always done things for my own map making.
Like if I put down, my favorite trees are the conifers for some reason. But in terms of relative size to everything, it kind of works out. It is relative in size to the mountain, something that you would expect on a map. And still relative on the size to the city, it still works out. So there has been a lot of thought process behind that and tweaking. Now the only problem is that our scale does not really pay tribute to that, and that is easily solvable when we say you can adjust the scale, and that is something that you can do yourself, and you can just place a scale onto the map and say, look, this is a mile, or 10 miles, or 100 miles.
Yeah, and I think that's very interesting from a map making perspective as well, if you can set your own scale, because you might want to resize things. I mean, I try not to resize too much of the assets because I don't like it, but generally speaking, I think that if you want to do it, you can do it. And actually playing around with the program myself, I found myself adjusting some of the things as well. I would make the trees maybe 10%, so I'd only put them at 90% scale, so that you got really, really dense, thick sort of forest, because you were putting down loads and loads of trees. And I thought that looked quite good. So sometimes, you just want to play around with things. And having the option to do that in a program like this, where there's, hopefully boundless creativity for creating loads of different kinds of maps, I think that's a good thing, you know?
Yeah. Um, there is another one in the making, if I remember correctly. You've just been showing me something that you're currently working
Oh,
on.
yes.
Do you want to show that already, or should I shut up?
No, we can show this. This is basically, I started this yesterday, I think. No, what day is it today? Sunday. No,
I don't
Friday.
know.
I did
Don't
some
ask
stuff on
me.
this on Friday.
It's another
Yeah, I
Spiel
should
day.
ask you what day it is. I will share my screen now.
Ha! That was better. Why,
Seamless.
just a second, there was a question. Oino Gaming asks, does the Dungeon for Client auto update? Not yet. Um, the auto update function is planned and is coming. Right now, the technical alpha is a kind of a standalone application. So once we release a hotfixed, a patched version, you will have to deinstall the old version and install the new one. But one of the let's say one of the things that we want to tackle first before we start implementing all the new features is something that allows you to auto update, so you don't have to do that in the future. Color, color,
Oh,
color.
sorry. I'm just playing
That's
with
fine.
color.
It's very hypnotic. Go on.
So this is one of the things that we want to add in the next one of the next builds going forwards is the ability to change the color of some of the
Yes.
things.
If you
So having nice little.
can you turn off the color behind it?
Oh, you mean the background?
Yes, and now so that we only see the line art. Yep, there you
Oh,
go.
sure, yeah.
So the thing is, what we're doing is all the assets that Caeora is handing over, they consist of two layers, which is the line art layer and the color layer, which means that you are able to eventually, you will be able to turn off the color if you want to have a,
Mhm.
let's say, black and white version of the map, if you want to have something in that art style. Um, but you can also adjust the color of the asset without changing the line art, which was important to us because if you completely recoloring that asset, um, you don't want to recolor the line art. You don't want to have something like probably a purple outline. You might want to have purple outlines, so you will be able to recolor just the line art. Um, but yeah, but that's one of the things that we're working on. Oh,
Yeah, and I think it's yeah, just changing the color of the little
command
quote unquote
master.
portal. Um, but yeah, no, that was always something that I was trying to bear in mind when I was drawing these, and it's actually one of the reasons why some of the colors seem quite vivid, especially some of the reds, like they're quite full on, and that's so that they're easier to play around when it comes to changing the color of the rooftops and flags and things like that. Um, and yeah, hopefully people will really enjoy that. I'm looking forward to some of the combinations that people do with some of the assets. Um, but yeah, let's show off the old stuff first. So, um, a bit of background for the actual Kickstarter. If you go back onto the Kickstarter page, there's a GIF of dragons, dragon assets in the Kickstarter page or on the Kickstarter page, and at the moment they haven't really made their way over. And these were those dragons, and they haven't so far made their way over to the assets that are currently in the alpha. And the reason for that is that I actually changed up the resolution slightly of all the assets. This is what I talked about this at the beginning of the stream. And so these are now slightly out of date. They're slightly too thick, like the line art is slightly too thick. So I've had to sort of rework them and I've started to remake those. So you can see on the difference between these assets and the current DEIOS assets. So you can see that these dragons are very, very thick line art, and they're also quite simple as well. The green dragon is very similar to the gold dragon and the silver dragon. And over here you can see an updated version of one of the dragons. Okay, so this was my attempt at reworking and redoing the red dragon, which looks a lot nicer and a little bit more detailed, but you can see the colors on the wings a little bit better and so on and so forth. So right now, what I'm doing is I am remaking all of the dragons that were basically I said they would have on the Kickstarter page, and I'm redrawing them properly with some actual sort of detail and making them look like actual dragons from Dungeons and Dragons and other types of fantasy. So the white dragon here actually looks like a white dragon, and the blue dragon actually looks like a blue dragon, and black and green, etc. So far, I've only done blue, white, black, and green. And you can see these are all the types that I'm going to be doing, which is going to be in a pack coming up at some point.
At some point. Can I, now that I'm looking at that, I have a request. Could you do an Asian dragon as well?
Potentially, yes. Though I feel like that would make one of the sort of a perfect asset to do for one of the settings, or something else. This is supposed to be sort of the generic fantasy dragons that you might find in a fantasy world. But yes, so because when I was looking at the kinds of dragons I was going to draw, I would basically do maybe like 5 or 6 oriental dragons, cloud dragons, things like that, for that kind of pack. So yes, you will see that eventually. Maybe not in this one, but yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I was just thinking because this might be a dragon pack, so I thought like, well, if we're doing a dragon pack, then we should have the cloud dragon there. But I do understand. I see the point in having that like setting based.
Yeah, and also there's a lot of different types of dragons that have sort of popped up in various media across the years that I wanted to try and represent relatively well in this kind of asset form, because it's always fun to have a dragon in your game or in your map. Dragons are such a massive part of role-playing games and map making, so I thought it would be lovely to have an actual white dragon represented for the far north of your world, or even some of the more sort of the dragons that aren't really very well represented in fantasy. Something like an ocean dragon, like a water dragon, or there's a difference between a blue dragon and an ocean dragon. There's all these different types, and each one could potentially make your world just that little bit better. That's just that little. It might spark an idea, or it might give your players a better understanding about what you built or what you're trying to achieve with your map making. So, yeah, I'm just gonna have fun with this and make. I don't know how many of these there are. I haven't actually counted, but yeah, this is going to be coming to a patch soon-ish. Just going with dates.
Well, the good thing is that you kind of the opportunity or the thing that I like about that is you can be working detached from what we are doing. The second you come to me and you say, Till, look, I've done a new pack, it's finished. We will be able to work it in, and we have been chatting before the stream a little bit, and I was telling you that now for the current alpha version, whatever you produce, we have to take and implement into the installer. This is going to change quite soon, where you can just release the asset pack and people can download it and add it into their asset folder, and it will automatically get implemented in the software.
Yes, that's something that I talked to you about quite a long time before the alpha came out, and it's something that's been on the roadmap for a while, because uploading assets to DEIOS at some point is going to become not necessarily tedious, but there's going to be a lot going on, and there's also the ability for me to just push an update for an asset that might need. Oh, this mountain isn't right, so I need to fix the artifacts on there. Because I know there's a couple of artifacts on the current base pack that I need to fix, and currently I have no option to just to ask somebody, oh, you found a mountain with that, let me quickly fix that and quickly push that out to a thing, so you can get a new, the updated fixed asset or something like that. So that would be amazing. Also, the other reason why I'm really excited to have that ability is because I can then finish an asset pack, and create like secret little hidden things that Till doesn't know about, which I'm very excited to do. I really want to just push a little pack and just go, oh yeah, by the way, Till, there's a new asset pack for DEIOS. He's like, what? Or not necessarily a pack, because we probably need to coordinate on, you know, pushing the marketing and things like that, but possibly like one asset or two assets that,
Yeah.
you know, I've created in a stream or, you know, had some fun with, you know, so that'll be cool. That'll be really fun.
There was a question. I feel like Bodhi has already answered it. But yes, this Tuesday we'll be mapping it out. And this Tuesday we will talk in mapping it out. We will talk about the alpha. What have we learned from the alpha? What are the new things that we've kind of gathered through your feedback, the reports, and the roadmap of what's going to happen within the next weeks or month, so that you know how our alpha is progressing. That all of those answers will be questioned. All of those questions will be answered. Good night on Tuesday. So Mikaro is bringing up a really good question. That is one of the things why Caeora and Caeora and the dev team need to sit down and decide on the best way to how you update assets, because Mikaro says, will people be informed if an asset in their map has changed, preferable with a highlight option so they can check if it still looks the way they wanted it? The thing is, what we're going to do, or the way that we're currently looking at that, is there might be something like a tag that says, I'm not sure if that's the English correct word, deprecated. Is that the right term?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
Deappreciated, or it's sort of like it's an older version of an asset. So it might have a little.
Yeah. What we're doing is, or what we're trying to avoid is, we do not want to change something on your map. Like if you've placed it on the map, it stays on the map. But if you go back into your library, you might find that this asset has a tag or a flag that says this is outdated, there's a new version available, and then it's up to you to decide whether or not you want to change that asset.
Yeah, basically. I think that's probably the best way of doing it, so people have a choice. Because I think that for the most part, the changes that I'm going to be making will allow people to have a slightly, you know, it might fix an asset or it might make it slightly better. But generally speaking, I won't be changing assets massively that will affect a map. So the general form of these assets won't change. It might be that I quickly touch up a color or add a highlight, or at the very most, that's probably what I'll be doing for most of the assets, or fixing a little artifact bug where in the asset itself, there's kind of like, I'm trying to show you what I would mean by an artifact. But let's say, for example, that you're looking at this asset, you can't really see any of these blue splodges that I just put down. But if you put it up against a white background, it has these little things. And these sometimes happen generally when I'm just drawing and I'm forgetting to sort of delete little areas and things like that. But that's generally how I'll be fixing assets. And so new versions will generally just be slightly cleaner or slightly changed. Nothing majorly from a form perspective for the most part.
True. And still it is, again, this is something that we will test internally, where you and I will play around with the system and see how does it work out from your perspective, from a user perspective, from a developer's perspective. But our general rule is that we will not try to mess with things that people have already placed on a map, because they did that intentionally. So having a tag in your library that says, look, there's a new version available, gives every user the freedom and the agency to replace it themselves if they want to have the new version. This might be, as you just said, there might be just a little like relic that you have removed, but still it is a new version, and it's up to the user to place it. Nice. I like the coloring
Yeah,
there.
just doing it in the background while we're chatting.
Yeah, it's
But
although
yeah, I
it's another artist drawing and it's so relaxing. Good night.
yeah, so just doing some basic sort of flat colors on the
Yeah.
assets on these dragons that I finished anyway, just to show what I mean by having different kind of designs that are a little bit more designed than the ones that were in the on the Kickstarter page. Because um, these ones were, if you can see, the difference between the white dragon here and the blue dragon here is very, very um, similar. Like the design is very similar. Like this one has a slightly longer tail. The spikes are slightly spaced further apart, and the head with the horn is slightly different, and it's a different color. And fine, if you want to put those next to one another, you might say, oh yeah, they're fine. That's a white dragon. That's a blue dragon. But I don't know. I just wanted to make them actually look
More
significantly
distinct. Yeah.
different.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
looking great. Um, since we're almost to the hour, chat, if you have
Mm-hmm.
any questions regarding artwork, regarding assets, regarding DEIOS, if it's a technical question regarding alpha, please join us in our mapping it out. That will be all about alpha questions answered. But if it is about the artwork, have it now, and Caeora will answer
I
it.
have been, yeah, well, I'll try. But but I've been really happy actually. I mean, the feedback that I've seen for DEIOS has been very, very positive and very, very, focused on like making all the maps and things. I haven't seen a single person sort of say anything negative or they want anything changed from an asset perspective. Um, so that's just made me really, really happy. I've been paying attention to the Discord and like
Well, now I
looking at
feel
some of the
bad
maps
if I
that
say
they
this is part of the survey because we're going to do a survey where we kind of collect user experience and general feedback, and there will be a section about the artwork as well. Um, but I feel like honestly, there's nothing to complain about, right? The chat, back me up here. There's nothing to complain about the artwork.
no, they all hate it too. They hate them.
I don't think so.
Um,
Um,
I'm really I'm gonna very much enjoy when people can just use the line art because I think that that's going to give people the opportunity to do something with DEIOS that I think is also very interesting, which is
yes.
they can do line art versions of their maps and then they can export those and color them separately. So they can actually play around a little bit more with color and stuff, which I actually really want people to try and experiment with that as well. I know that all of these assets are colored, but until we get brushes in, the coloring options for a lot of this stuff and the hue saturation changes for the assets things, this is somewhat limited for the alpha and stuff. But as soon as you can sort of look at the line art and you can sort of understand the possibilities of what you can do and what you'll be able to do in DEIOS eventually, I think that's going to be really cool. I'm excited to see some line art versions of all these maps and stuff.
Yeah.
All the beautiful little, yeah. I think that's going to be really cool.
Because Tangwin is asking, Tangwin, the reveal video is already on YouTube, so all you need to do is go over there, check it out. And Caeora, any last words you would like to throw out to the chat? Because I feel like we're closing up soon. I feel my batteries are getting
You're about to
emptied.
collapse. Yeah. Okay. So
There's another sorry, just quickly. There's another question. I haven't used the tool enough to make valuable feedback. However, oh, this isn't a question. This is just feedback. Yeah, Unigaming. The web client, the UI generally awkward. That is important feedback if you want to give us through the feedback tools, because the UI for especially for DEIOS is, again, this is iteration 1. So if you have any ideas of how you would see that improve, please let us know. Then we can look at that.
Yeah, well, blah, 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 blah. I think I'm starting to fall asleep as well. I had a really busy day yesterday as well. Yeah, so the final things I'll probably say about this kind of stuff is that um, I think me and Till are on the same page when it comes to things progressing from an artistic perspective for DEIOS, because there's a lot more assets to go and a lot more things to be created and made. Um, and generally speaking, I'm probably going to get a lot of feedback from people and a lot of suggestions from people because I'll probably be streaming things like I have been doing over the past you know, few years. But I live streamed a lot of the stuff for the base pack. So I added stuff when people were watching me on my live streams. I live streamed the coloring of all the Titanic creatures, and changed a few bits with that kind of stuff. So if you want to be involved in any kind of like asset creation process, if you want to see something for DEIOS, then you can talk to me about that. You can suggest something in the Discord. But generally speaking, the best thing to do is just to turn up and chat with me on a stream, because I'll probably write down a little note right there and then, and maybe even draw it on stream. So if you want to see stuff and you want to see some of the new settings that are going to come out as I make them in the future, then yeah, that's probably my final closing statement. I hope everybody's enjoying DEIOS and all the assets. They're very fun to draw, I've got to admit.
If you end screen sharing, I can go back to the split screen where people can see you. There you go.
Oh yeah. Hi. Hi, it's me.
Hi, it's you. Yeah. Good night. So sorry. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing all the beautiful artwork and the process to create that. I can only repeat what Timatella says. It looks amazing so far. Thank you for sharing with us those updates and the things. It is beautiful. Caeora, thank you so much. To all of you, thank you very much for staying with us throughout Spiel, throughout streams, throughout today. And with that said, I wish you a good evening, good afternoon, and as always, happy map making. Bye.
Goodbye.